Hi. I didn't really know how to start this video, but I guess I'll start by saying that I just want to start to put my thoughts more out there and create more and document my process, document how I think right now in this point in my life and my journey. And I want to do that in a way where I can look back and truly understand where I was at certain points and how I was thinking at certain points. And so I guess that is just the main goal of me starting to make videos, and also to potentially reach people that think the same way that I do, or maybe need to hear something or need to feel some form of connection. I don't know. But yeah, so the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, and a lot of these things are going to revolve around manifestation, gratitude, my, I guess, philosophy of life, and how I think of life and how I approach life. And I guess to start, I kind of want to talk about manifestation and why your experiences will force you to surrender in order to get the things that you want in life. And that seems like a very broad thing, and it is a very broad thing, but I think one of the main things that led me to wanting to talk about this is that I kind of reflected on my own experiences and also the experiences that I hear from people around me and the ones close to me. And I kind of always think back to this point in my life where I really felt so down bad. I had graduated, but I didn't have any job lined up. I just had this ambiguous idea of being successful and doing all of these things, but I didn't really know how to get there. And then when I graduated, it was just okay, I'm not a student anymore. I didn't have anything lined up. I was applying to everything and getting rejected for everything. I must have applied to at least 70, okay, 70 is a reach, maybe 50 job positions in marketing, and I wasn't getting anything. I wasn't even getting interviews. And I had already made the decision to move out and to live off my savings. So throughout this whole time that I was living on my own and job searching, I was just living off all of my savings. And I didn't feel like I had anything to stand on because I wasn't a student anymore. I didn't really have any path that seemed okay, this might be really fruitful and I might get a position here. It all just felt very ambiguous, and it started to feel very there was no way to do it anymore. And then shortly after, I ended up just getting a job, a regular minimum wage job. I was getting paid $16 an hour working at a gym. And then I ended up breaking my toe. I was living off my savings, working a job I did not like, and I would have to open the gym at 4 a.m. And it just felt like nothing was what I wanted it to be. And I spent so much time trying to manifest and trying to create this dream life for myself. And then it was okay, now you're graduated, it's your time to do it. And it genuinely just felt impossible. And then I feel it got even worse. Like I said, I broke my toe, so I was immobile. I couldn't work anymore. I was still living off my savings. I was dealing with some safety stuff as well that I won't touch on, but it made me not only fear my future, but fear for my personal safety as a human being. And it literally just felt like my whole world was a dark pit. And that sounds so depressing, and it was depressing. I really felt like I hit rock bottom. I was at the point where I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I didn't want to go out. I didn't care about dating, obviously. I was not really journaling. Like, I didn't have much that I was looking forward to in life. Like, I was just trying to survive at that point. With the safety thing, I wasn't even able to sleep most nights. And I truly felt like I was just lost. And I started to feel like there wasn't a way out, because I was still intentionally putting all my effort toward applying to things and putting my resume together and reaching out and emailing people and doing all this stuff. And it just felt like nothing was working. And at the same time, it felt like I was just resisting the depth of the darkness that I was in. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it just felt like throughout that whole time period, my mindset was in, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I was hating myself for that. And I was just feeling so badly about myself, not necessarily for myself. I don't think I was giving myself a lot of grace in that time period, because I just felt like a failure. Like, I felt like I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I couldn't see how I could get to where I wanted to be with the things that I had. And I think one day it just got so dark that I reached the point of full surrender. And I guess that sounds dramatic. I wish I could explain more the things that I was experiencing at that time, but for safety reasons, I won't really get into depth about that. But I remember literally, I took a picture of my journal the day that I genuinely just reached full surrender, because I didn't know how to pull myself out of that feeling. And I've always seen myself as a pretty positive and grateful person. Even in those times, I would still sit and try to meditate in gratitude and try to list all the things that I was grateful for, because I still did have a lot of things to be grateful for. Like having a place to live and like having family and friends that care about me and things like that. But I do think that like your experiences deter you from being able to really sit in that gratitude and really feel it, because you're just so sad. But I remember the day that it just got too much, and I genuinely just felt like I reached a surrender point. And I still have the picture, like I said, that I wrote in my journal, and I kind of just asked the universe to let me surrender, and I asked for God to just take the weight from me. And I also made the promise that whatever light is shown to me, that I promise to shine back tenfold into the world, as long as I could just surrender some of this pain and just let it be lifted off of me. And I think a lot of things about that, but I think surrendering was the first step to me accepting and not resisting the actual moment that I was in, and just realizing that no amount of my resistance to the present moment and to how bad things are, and no amount of hating myself was going to force me or change the situation that I was in. And I think that full surrender helped me genuinely move with the flow of life from that point forward. Because at that point, as you can imagine, when you're just literally grasping, gripping with your freaking nails and your claws, and you're trying so hard with all your might to pull things to be how you want them to be, and they're just not that, nothing's going to go right, because you're not in alignment with this ideal of what you're supposed to be doing. and you're not in alignment because something else has to happen for you to reach that alignment. And I remember, like, at that time, genuinely in my head, it felt like all these tight white knuckle grips on the things that I thought I was going to be and the things that I wanted, and being so mad at myself for not having them. I literally felt my hands loosen up, and I felt myself kind of accept where I was and accept the flow of life and accept the understanding that. And I think in those times too, it's so cliche to be like, everything happens for a reason. And when people tell you that, it honestly feels annoying, because you're like, okay, what is the reason? Like, what is the reason that I'm broke right now? What is the reason that I literally can't even walk because I broke my toes? What is the reason that I'm experiencing this severe anxiety from this actual survival safety fears that I'm experiencing that's out of my control? Like, what is the freaking reason? And when people say things like that, it just feels like, bro, shut up. But let me say that in the bigger picture, it's not like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, you just have to, like, let it be. It's more so like, how I look at it is there's still something that needs to happen. There's still a lesson that your soul or your mind needs to learn before you can be in alignment with the things that you want to achieve. And in that time, I know that there were some beliefs that I had and some ways I was navigating life that would not suffice in the life that I was desiring. And I think that surrender in that moment allowed me to kind of close the gap, or at least begin to close the gap between the place I wanted to be and where I was at. And I started to just accept those things and accept that although all these things are so SHITTY, there has to be some universal reason, considering that I believe in, like, divine timing and that everything's harmonious and everything flows and stuff like that. I didn't realize that I was resisting the flow of life so much that it was literally causing me to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into this pit. And that's why I do believe that it has to get really bad before you get better. And you have to experience the darkest parts. And, like, it seems like all these bad things happen at one time. And my belief is that it's because there's unalignment. And anytime there's unalignment, nothing's going to work. Like, I don't know how to explain it in a way that doesn't take me forever. But in my head, I just look at it like, however you're navigating the world, and this is, like, the case with, like, shadow work and, like, triggers and things like that, and, like, what you're attracting to your life, basically. If there's something internally unaligned with the things that you're trying to get, you will not be able to get them without hitting a lot of obstacles until you learn the lesson that you need to learn, and it closes that gap in alignment. And that's where I truly think that you kind of accept that you have to be in flow with the divine and with life in order to get to where you want to be. And it's not going to look like how you think it's going to look like most of the time. Like, most of the time you think that it's going to be like, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, then this is the kind of life I'm going to live, and I'm going to be able to manifest whatever I want. But a lot of the times, all these blockages and all these obstacles and all these things are showing you something else has to take place first. There has to be a learning done. There has to be some type of thing, like, you probably have to let go of something, whether it's a belief, something physical, a person. There has to be something that you let go of, a lesson that you have to learn in order to get to the life that you have been trying to get to. And I think that is, like, the main thing that I always remember about that point is once I hit that true surrender point and I started to go with the flow of life and understand that this lost feeling and this dark feeling, resisting it wasn't going to change it, is when things started to fall into place. Actually 2 weeks or 1 or 2 weeks after I wrote physically into my journal, my diary, that I surrendered to the flow of life and that I just needed some of the pain and the darkness to be lifted off of me, and that I promised that any love and light shown to me I would show onto the world tenfold. 2 weeks or so after that is when I got the job offer for literally my dream position. And to this day, it is still one of my biggest blessings and things that I'm grateful for, because I can go back in my old manifestation journals and literally read out, like almost bar for bar, the job position that I wanted. And like, even then it was just this ambiguous idea of like what I wanted to do, and it didn't even seem realistic, but I have it. And it came very shortly after the darkest period in my life. And once I surrendered to the present moment and I surrendered to the understanding that I'm just not where I wanted to be, and that I needed to stop resisting it and stop hating myself for it, is when I truly allowed this space for it in my life. And like, that doesn't disqualify all the other things that I was doing throughout the time that I was in this dark era, like, because throughout that time, obviously I was still planting the seeds, and I was still reaching out to people, trying to get interviews. I was still asking people to sit with me and have coffee, and I was still doing all the groundwork. But I think although I was doing all this groundwork, my mindset was not correct. It was like that white knuckle gripping with my freaking nails dug deep into it that wasn't allowing me to let the opportunity truly shine in my life. And so whenever people confide in me or talk to me about what they're experiencing in life, and they tell me that they don't understand why it has to be so difficult and they can't really see it working out, that's kind of not a solution, but that's kind of my philosophy, is the annoyingness of everything happens for a reason. If you genuinely look into it a little more intricately than the cliche, I feel that you might be able to find your reasoning. And not only that, but you'll be able to find an acceptance and a grace for yourself and the things that you're experiencing, and that every phase, every process in your life has a purpose in your path. And if you can embrace that process, and it gets hard, like I said, in my own experience, I know it's hard to embrace that process in times, but truly embracing the process and embracing the present moment is the only thing that you can do, because it's the only thing that exists. And yeah, I don't know. I think that was probably all over the place. Hopefully, as time goes, I'll become a better orator, be able to put my thoughts together in a more comprehensive way. But that truly is how I think of things right now. And I hope that any of that made sense to anybody out there. And yeah, anyways, I hope that if you're seeing this, you have a beautiful day, and to remember that there is so much light, and sometimes you need to stop searching for the light and start creating the light. And I think that that is the main thing, is whatever you want to manifest into your life, you have to become first. Meaning, if you want love and abundance from the universe, you need to start showing love and abundance to others first. And I'm telling you, just like when I asked for some light to be shown to me, it comes back to you tenfold. And not only in a whole spiritual woo-woo way, but just in the way that our brains work, like subconsciously, and how we perceive the world. The more that we think about something, the more that we express love, the more that we show grace to others, the more apparent that love and grace within the universe around us already existing, the more apparent that becomes to us as we experience it. And you start to see the blessings and see the opportunities instead of missing out on them. And you start to just become more receptive to the amount and abundance of love that is all around you, because I promise you it is. And if you ever feel like you can't find that light and you can't find that love, reach out to me. I have an abundance of love to share, and I'm always open to giving it away. So anyways, yes, sorry, it always ends up like a 5-minute conversation when I start to talk about like blessings and love and gratitude and stuff. So I'm gonna stop there. But like I said, I hope you have a beautiful day, and yeah, more blessings, more life.